Let me request the Honorable MC to come forward to introduce the keynote speaker. Honorable MC, can you please come forward to introduce our keynote speaker? Please round of applause to the MC.
Thanks, HOD, and good afternoon to yourself and good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to you, Bishop, and the invited guests. We were having a smaller discussion with the Deputy Minister. Trying to respond to some of the lessons that COVID has actually given to us, that of trying to close the social distance. The concept of the social distance is COVID. Now, we have been blessed to have the Deputy Minister with us today. It's not the first time that she visited the province. She has been consistently with us on a number of events, on a number of milestones that the province has been able to achieve. You can't define the success of the province without mentioning that office that they led. Both the Deputy Minister and the Minister. We would want to invite you, Deputy Minister, to address us. I do understand that you have got a challenge of time because the President is opening up an ECD center in Bizana tomorrow morning. And the expectation is that because the Deputy Minister is here, she will have to join the President in Bizana tomorrow. So you will forgive me by saying you won't get her afternoon. She still have to drive 6 hours from here to Bizana. So at least let me usher you, Doc. We have got our own doctors.
Thank you. I found it very difficult when I was saying I found it very difficult to stand up because it's nearly afternoon. Shall we stand up just for a stretch? You see how it feels, just to stand up. Can you breathe in? Stretch our arms straight, sideways, forward, and back. Thank you. At least the morning was better. But the good day, you are about to join the good afternoon. MEC, thank you very much for this opportunity, for inviting me to come to the podium. Program Director was holding to put today. Greetings to you that you are a program director, you are a head of departments. Bishop, thank you so much. I won't forget that verse. Most of the time they say, when they invite you to bury a baby, you ask yourself, what verse am I going to read when you bury a baby, a 3 months old? But you always find a way of getting out. So the message you sent us today that Jesus reigns. which means reading is very important. So our boss from the legislature, our chairperson, who's always with us, it's so good, it feels good that the person you account to, Bishop, in the legislature, he holds us accountable for the things we say we're going to do. He goes through our APP and go through our quarterly reports and say, hey, you said you're going to do this. And he's the one who made even a proposal for our budget to be approved in the legislature. So we are so happy to be with him so that he knows exactly what we're doing so that he will be able to monitor us. Thank you so much, Honorable Saziwan. Our partners, it's so good. Our partners are that side. And we said, all over. You are very special. Without you, this reading program would not go anywhere. We really appreciate you. I put all of you together because mentioning some, you leave those that are very important. Officials from DBE, led by Dr. Taylor, officials from Eastern Cape Education, led by the HOD, officials, normally the districts, they want to be singled out as districts. They don't want to be counted as officials from the province, just like circuit managers. They want to be singled out to say circuit managers. So, I know, and I don't make that mistake in a meeting where I know the circuit managers are here. I mention them in that way. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Sanibonani. To speak at the end, it's so painful because all what I've written here has been said. I said, my God. So mine is just to say the reading strategy is officially launched. We need to run with the implementation. All of them were talking about implementation. Yes, we agree about the resources, but let's not put the resources as a stumbling block. The little that we have, let's get the strategy running, and that will help us. And the CFO is the one who's agreeing the most important. And she's correct. We should not make resources a stumbling block. We have our resources, which teach us, and we make sure that even if they cut the budget, we don't tamper with that budget. Because that one will always say, you cannot replace a teacher. A teacher must always be there in front of learners. HOD put it correctly to say, during our time, with the afternoon class, during our time, it was great. Those, because we are a bit cleverer than others, they say, no, this one must go to school. Even if you are not yet at sub-A, they will allow you. It happened with me. They allow you to go and attend, then you are in the same class with sub-A and sub-B. Same class, one teacher teaching all subjects. All subjects, starting from, and teaching you to hold a pen. And here we are today. So I'm saying, let resources not be a stumbling block. As long as we have a teacher, something good will come out of it. So this month, October, it's a month for teachers. Yes. And we must celebrate teachers. As a teacher myself, I always hate it when people would always hammer on teachers. We saw that during COVID-19, people could not want to stay with their children. They wanted their children to stay with the teacher, and yet the teacher is useless. How can you want your child to stay with someone who's useless? It means that teachers are good. That's why parents were so stressed, devastated, and some were even admitted because they couldn't stay with their own children. But when you say we open schools, they were the ones, especially the social media parents, were the ones who were fighting that schools must not be opened, but the real parents wanted schools to be reopened. So tomorrow, there's a National Teaching Award that is sponsored by Woolworths. Here in South Africa, Minister will be overseeing that process. Unfortunately, I prepared my dress, I won't be wearing it. At Bizarre. So, and on the 20th of this month again is the National Teaching Awards by the Department of Basic Education. So I believe that even in the Eastern Cape will have a sizable number of teachers attending there. So for the purpose of this, I will quickly run through what I have written, which is what you have said already. That launching the reading strategy heralds a seminal moment in our quest to deliver a high-performing basic education for all. The launch signals our solid building block to achieve quality education as envisaged in the National Development Plan. The plan instructs us to provide all learners with quality education, mathematics and science. It sets the acceptable levels of academic performance to be achieved by 2030. And I'm happy this strategy is also facing to that direction. The plan says at least 80% of learners must achieve mathematics and literacy at about 50%. As we know, literacy, that is reading and writing, and numeracy are the heartbeats of basic education and the foundation of education. So, as you have said, that in the past years, South African learners have not been performing well on national annual assessment, but that was helping us to gauge our children and come up with strategies to improve. And the system will follow the SACMEC as well as PEMS. And also the performance in the trends in mathematics and science study assessment was a bit below, but those studies, there's no one that is pushing us. We decided as basic education to say we participate so that we know the gaps and address the gaps. And that's why now we are better than where we were. In June 2019, it was said, I'm saying it because I've written it. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, announced in his State of the Nation address that one of government's 5 fundamental goals for the next decade is that all children should be able to read for meaning by the age of 10. Subsequently, the department added that improvement of the fundamental skills of literacy and numeracy, especially read for meaning, as part of the 12 priorities of this administration in the Department of Basic Education. We know that the nature of the reading problem, we also understand the depth of the reading predicaments facing the country. South Africa was known to be a country of people who do not read, and we were classified as such. So, the Eastern Cape Reading Strategy builds on the existing reading ecosystem on how to address the national reading morass, and it addresses both the core and the peripherals. Our integrated national reading sector plan is grounded on addressing both the root causes and what researchers will always call peripherals, as I indicated earlier on. To the department, there are no peripherals, as there's a piece of robust research evidence to suggest that parents' involvement in the children's literacy is highly beneficial and not the proverbial peripherals. As we understand it, the foundation of any quality basic education is predicated on reading. and not just reading for meaning, as well as reading with comprehension. Reading for meaning, according to researchers, is a research-based strategy that helps all readers build the skills that proficient readers use to make sense of challenging text. The regular use of the reading for meaning strategy allows students to practice and master the 3 phases of critical reading and lead to reading success, and that includes reviewing and predicting before reading, active researching for relevant information during the reading, reflecting on learning after the reading. The second thing we need to get for all learners is what we call reading with comprehension. According to researchers, reading with comprehension means understanding and interpreting what is read. This means to be able to accurately understand written materials, children need to be able to decode what they have read, may make connections between what they have read and what they already know, and think deeply about what they have read. In other words, reading with comprehension means having a sufficient vocabulary or knowing the meaning of enough words. As they say, only readers with solid comprehension can draw conclusions about what they read, what is important, and what is a fact, what caused an event to happen, which characters are funny. In simple language, reading with comprehension involves combining reading with thinking and reasoning. Thus, we say have to read with comprehension because they make sense. Study the Paris finding found that South African learners achieved below expected levels in reading. The Paris study indicated that as Dr. Taylor indicated that 78% of South African grade 4 learners do not reach the international benchmark and therefore do not have basic reading skills by the end of the grade 4 school year, in contrast to only 4% of learners internationally. Furthermore, the Paris study shows that more than 80% of learners tested in an African language could not read for meaning. That's why it pushed even the president himself to utter the statement that I indicated earlier on. And in the department, we work closely with Professor Martin Gustafsson, who says the Paris corrected reading score should be considered good. Because when people are criticizing the system, we end up criticizing ourselves as if the system is doing nothing. So Professor Gustafsson had to recalculate, and recalculate, and came up with something contrary to what has always been said. In fact, he concluded that the new score makes South Africa one of the fastest improving in the progress in international reading literacy study for the period between 2011 and 2016. Program Director, I have decided to harp on this point so that when we criticize the public schooling system, we must do so based on facts, not half-truth and hearsay from the proverbial Karen from Facebook. However, even with the corrected score, it is called comfort because the same study shows that around 3/4 of learners can still not reach the minimum benchmark in Paris. The minimum, of course, is reading for meaning. We as the government were working hard to find workable and lasting strategies to reading challenges facing the country, hence welcome the Eastern Cape initiative. We must move with speed to solve the challenge the challenge of lack of reading for meaning, as well as lack of reading with comprehension. Before COVID-19, we know that we had already started having sessions for reading in almost all the schools, but COVID deviated this plan to something else. But in 2019, we took a giant step also as the sector when we launched the National Reading Coalition under the aegis of National Education Collaboration Trust. As the National Reading Coalition launched, the Minister correctly conceptualized our Achilles heel on learners' inability to read for meaning. The National Reading Coalition is a stakeholder-led enterprise coordinating reading initiatives across the country. This coalition is not a new outfit that replaces all micro-reading initiatives across the country. Instead, it's about providing leadership, coordination, and evidence-based approach to the pedagogy of reading. The National Reading Coalition does not replace the rest, as I indicated. Still, it pulls all of them together as part of national effort. Hence, it is housed in the LECT. In our 2022 basic education, we resolved to continue strengthening the foundations of learning, particularly in the early grades. We correctly said that literacy and mathematics are to become one apex priority of the sixth administration, as it is even now. After launching the National Reading Coalition and ushering in the sixth administration post the national election, we launched the Integrated National Reading Sector Plan, which this plan by the Eastern Cape is responding to the National Sector Plan. We really appreciate and want to thank the Eastern Cape and the Department of Education in the Eastern Cape for the gigantic steps they have taken. We all need to play our parts. We must socialize all our learners into becoming lifelong readers. We cannot succeed in getting the nation to read on our own as government. That's why we need all our partners to form part of us and to be part of us. That's why we are supporting the President's call for all the South Africans to be reading nations. We must support our learners in the reading for academic purposes, for knowledge, and for enjoyment. Today, we call upon all South Africans in general and people of the Eastern Cape in particular to never again regard reading as a portion of education, but to take reading as education. As I indicated when I started speaking, that I, in my capacity as Deputy Minister for Basic Education in South Africa and in the Eastern Cape today, officially launched the strategy. Thank you very much.